Hey everyone, welcome into a brand new episode of Straight Outta Crumpton. I'm Tyler Kern, and the man himself is joining me today as well, Greg Crumpton. Greg, good to talk to you.
Good morning, sir. Hope you're doing well. I understand you had a bit of a commute issue this morning, but glad you made it. So good to talk to you as always.
Thank you so much. I was worried I was going to have to frantically text you while trying to weave in and out of, buses and stuff, just trying to get to work. It's a treacherous world out there.
Always pull over prior to texting.
That's a good point. Thank you for the reminder. PSA to all of our loyal listeners as well. Greg, as always, we have another awesome guest joining us this morning. It's Mr. Teddy Burris. He is a LinkedIn strategist and trainer. Teddy, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, I'm glad I was able to come and show up today. I did not have a perilous commute, and I, as Greg recommends, always get to the top of the stairs before I start texting.
See, there you go.
That's wisdom.
Mission accomplished.
So, Greg, I'm going to turn it over to you. Talk to us about why Teddy is such a great guest and what we're going to talk about today.
You know, Tyler, in business and in my personal life and my professional life, relationships have been the crux of what made those work. And as social media has become so prevalent and almost dominant for a lot of businesses, as well as personal use, the relationships seem to be at least equally, if not more so important. So having said that, Teddy, I'm curious, tell us how you got started in the business and why your focus on LinkedIn is so strong, or so your main focus.
Greg, I'm with you 100%. Relationships are key to success in life, career, and business. And I say it that way because everything I do is wrapped around helping people understand that it all starts with a conversation. That's actually my little handle or tagline for my business and for me. It all starts with a conversation. And I took my very first sales job back in 2005. Before that, I spent 30 some odd, and the word some odd gets lots of variability there, some odd years in the technology world. I spent a lot of time in developing software in the early days, and then building technology systems, and then growing into all areas of technology. Well, my wife and I raised 4 daughters, and we both agreed all along the way that when we were done raising daughters, we can go do whatever we wanted to. Well, one of the things I've always wanted to do, besides being a dock boy, just hanging out on the dock and helping people, tie their boat up, et cetera, et cetera. Well, more productively, one of the things I've always wanted to do was have my own business. Well, I knew in order to start my own business, I needed to figure out this stuff called sales, because I'd never done it before. Mm-hmm. So in 2005, I left the company I was working for, good personal friends of mine, and went to sell IT solutions for a small, computer support organization in downtown Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And so I went to sell, and by the way, I asked this guy, Greg, I said to him when he hired me, I said, dude, tell me the one thing that if I do enough of it, that I'll be successful as an IT sales guy. And this is 2005. And this is what he said to me. He said, you need a cold call like a wild man. Well, back in those days, 2005, let's see, 15 years ago, I was 45 years old. And, not that I was uberly successful or anything like that, but I'm like, oh my God, I got a cold call.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of cold calling. I just knew that it wasn't something I was excited about doing.
Well, those words don't lend themselves to happiness right away.
Yeah, absolutely. Dialing for dollars and, that kind of stuff. So anyway, I very politely said to him, okay, I hear what you're saying. And so I went about following his tutelage because I'd never sold before. And I started cold calling, and I got okay at it. I still don't like it. I still didn't like it. Well, I also started networking really hard and going and meeting as many people as I could. And I wrote at that time, I'd started, talking about networking. I wrote the book, Networking for Mutual Benefit, available on Amazon.com for $12.95. I wrote this book.
Nice plug.
About networking for mutual benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And what that is all about, the edict is all about: make a connection, build a relationship, discover how you can help each other.
Yeah.
And so I started, being very purposeful about networking. Well, in 2005, 2006, I bumped into blogging and Facebook and Twitter. And I said, well, this is interesting. How can I use this to help me grow? And so I started playing with it. And here's what I discovered. I discovered that most of the people that I wanted to meet were on LinkedIn. They weren't doing anything, but they were there.
Yeah, had an account and were watching, so to speak.
Yeah. And I also discovered that because more and more people were on LinkedIn, LinkedIn was becoming a pretty interesting, sort of like Yellow Pages.
Mm.
Maybe I didn't get access to them all, but I could find them. And maybe more importantly, I could find out who I knew, who knew the other guy I wanted to meet. And so I just started playing with it. And, by about 2008, I was playing with it pretty decently. I was creating content, nothing huge, nothing glamorous by no stretch of anybody's imagination, let alone my own. And I was engaging with people, and I was building a network, and I was building a brand. And I started discovering that I could find more and more people through LinkedIn.
Gotcha. And I think 2008, if I remember right, is the year I joined. And I was then watching. I was not participatory, but I was just kind of watching what was happening.
Yeah. So I was starting to get pretty decent. And my statement is I built up a pretty cool book of business, pretty cool pipeline. And in 2009, my wife and I talked, and I said, it's time for us to go start our own business. And we really weren't exactly sure what it was going to be. So I went on a journey, and I had 120 conversations. I have it in my Google Calendar of all the people I talked with that year. And more I talked to people, the more they said, Teddy, if you're going to start a business, you better not start a business as a technology guy. You better start a business, something to do with this social media stuff.
Wow. Because
you're all over it. And, you are becoming the social media guy in this town. Because I was pretty active.
Yeah. And you're still in Winston at that point, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm still in Winston today.
Yeah.
So, even though I travel all over the country and state, so I started thinking about, what do I want to teach? And in the early days, I still have it right here. It's on my desk. It's my name tag my very first name tag I produced when I started my business. It says Teddy Burris, networking strategist. That's what I wanted. I wanted to teach people how to network. Well, nobody understands what that means. So that really wasn't the right thing to do. And so then I changed my title, my name, my personal guidance and outward statement of who I am to Teddy Burris, social media strategist. Mm. And so that really didn't mean anything to me either, and it meant less to corporate America, because you do not walk into an organization that has 2,500 salespeople, tell them you want to teach them how to use social media. They're going to say, I don't want my people playing on Facebook, Twitter, and Tinder.
Right.
So that was too broad. And even though along the way I was getting more and more comfortable with LinkedIn, it took a while, about a year or so, for me to realize, what I really need to focus on? I need to focus on social media as a business tool. And the number one business tool for social media, specifically in the business to business space where I am the most comfortable and enjoy the most, is LinkedIn.
That's really interesting to hear that, from the birthing all the way till today. And I think about a couple of things. So Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, is a guy that I follow and listen to, and sometimes go, wow, and sometimes go, holy crap.
Yeah.
But he recently said within this year, this is what we're halfway through February. So within the last 6 weeks, I think he said, well, I know he said it. I think the date's right. That LinkedIn today is where Facebook was 15 years ago, and I take that as a positive, meaning we're in our infancy on LinkedIn and understanding the tools and the value of it. And then the second thing I think about, Teddy, is how you and I met, which was via LinkedIn. Um,
Mhm.
and then I basically wound up hiring you because of LinkedIn to teach our companies, plural, how
Yeah.
to best use LinkedIn. So mission accomplished, on that piece, as far as I
Mhm.
see. It's so cool to hear. I hate using that word, but it is pretty cool. Um, how those networking and the relationships feed into business, because I'm such a huge believer in it. And I've made a living through educating people in a sales role. Like
Mhm.
I never went out and said, "Hey, Mister Customer, you need a new data center air conditioner." But I educated our customers on what was new, what was different, what was coming, so that when they got ready, they knew who knew about it and how to buy. And that was my particular strategy, but and still is to a large
Mhm.
degree, but it worked because I was already having that the work done to build a relationship before the sale ever needed to be discussed. So I think it's pretty cool. Nice story.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm with you 100% that I make a living, and in my fingers pointing in my head right now, Greg, I say I make a living. In my mind, I make $16 million a year. And by the way, my business partner's downstairs, and every time she hears me say that, she goes, "You need to show me where that revenue is." I make a living by educating people as well. I don't sell. I don't market for the most part. I don't sell and I don't market. I poke people and make them think. I give them ideas. I share, little teeny nuggets. What was the one I wrote this morning? Where is that? I wrote one this morning that said, um, you'll never know the true value of a LinkedIn connection unless you connect and get into a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's how I make a living, just by poking people, making them think.
You just inspired another couple of thoughts, which is in your words, in real life, IRL.
Hmm.
And then the other nugget you taught our group was to, like, this is more tactician type talk, but make your headline say what you do, and not what your title is. Like, you may be the grand poobah of networking, but what you do is you connect people so that they can have a better business work life or whatever.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
what is your do, not your title. And I love the in real life, because if you're a person like you, like me, we do like that IRL, that in real life moment. But how do you take that IRL and then cascade it or compound it into the future of how you're interacting on LinkedIn and then in real life again? So it's like you're ebbing and flowing into and out of the digitized world of LinkedIn, but when you're connecting, you also remember having that cup of coffee.
Yeah, and this is powerful. LinkedIn is not a silo or a standalone tool. It can't be. If it's I do it every Wednesday for 45 minutes and then get off, it won't work. And it's not the panacea, magic bullet, silver bullet. It's not the end all to everything by no stretch of anybody's imagination. Example. So there's a guy in my community who is a high level trusted leader, and I want to do business with this company. And I'm not going to sell him because I know he's not ready for me, but I'm going to touch him every now and then. That's my words. I told this guy who hired me in 2005, who wanted me to cold call. At some point, I got good enough using social media networking. I didn't cold call, and he'd go, "Hey, Wednesday is cold calling blitz day." Like, yeah, well, you guys go ahead and cold call. I'm going to go out and hug people. That was my perspective.
I
And so
love that.
this guy in town, really good guy. My relationship with him is very friendly, but yet not business. And I know it's out there. I know it's going to come. The other day, I saw on LinkedIn that he was celebrating his, 15th anniversary of his business. Now, I could have just hit the stupid little button and said, congratulate. But no. I'm not doing that. I picked the phone up and I called him. And I used the word dude, so I don't need to use the guy's real name. I said, dude, I am so excited for you. I'm right behind you. I'm watching you grow. I'm watching you be successful of your business. And I just want you to know I appreciate, following behind you and learning as you grow. Click.
Wow.
Now, here's what happened. It took a week. He called me back. He said, Teddy, your words were really impactful, and I appreciate that. And I said, they were sincere. He goes, one of these days we'll have a very deliberate business conversation, but I appreciate you being there.
Yep. Planting the seed.
You never know. Now, if I would have just hit that stupid little button on LinkedIn that congratulate or say congratulate, I would have been in the same bucket with everybody else, and I would not have had an advantage.
You would have been number 223 to like it.
Maybe.
The other thing about dude that you're talking about is this is another cool little tactic that you taught us, was how to use the first name only to signify that you have that relationship with people, as opposed to using their full name. And I was just thinking about when you were talking about, congratulate or actually use a comment or actually pick up the phone like you did, because I'm an advocate that handheld device still functions as a telephone. I have to remind myself of that daily. Pick the damn phone up, please. But just what you taught us and how to interweave that the EQ side of our brain into making that person who's reading that one little note out of 227 likes only, it matters to that person. So I thought that was a great tactic, and I love how you just made that full circle come back around to the phone call.
Yeah. Who's the guy? I think he's a dead guy. He said, make the conversation all about them. And they said this. They said to Greg, his name is the sweetest sound in any language. Now Teddy adds to that, or font.
There you go.
Yeah, it's powerful. You have to where relevant, appropriate. Now, if I'm going to send a message to, pick any, grandiose, shinier than me shoes celebrity out there, they don't exist. But anyway, if I'm going to send a message,
or no shoe celebrity,
who I don't know, I'm not going to call them Steve.
Right.
I may refer to them as Mr. or I may refer to them as Steve last name, because that's appropriate until I feel like I have that relationship to call him Steve.
Yeah, I think it makes us think, or you made me think differently about how to use that, because if I say, hey, Teddy Burris, nice job, versus hey, Teddy, nice job, the intention of that, or the read of that should be, okay, Greg and Teddy are they're good. They're not just LinkedIn buds, but they actually know each other. And I think that lends itself to how to dig for that next contact level, because Teddy may know dude who I'm trying to connect with, and so it makes that circle a little bit tighter, a little bit more complete as you're working properly. Not, I got a LinkedIn request this morning from some guy who was really honest. He said, we've never met, but I'd really like to sell you this tax service. I'm like, that's the cold call of today. And it's still as ineffective as it ever has been, but it's just quicker to delete now instead of having to hear it.
Right. So, and that's one of the, I don't have this level of relationship with people in real life as well as on LinkedIn if all I do is collect business cards or LinkedIn connections. And I refuse to be that guy. One of my tactics is if I connect with someone, there's got to be some level of relevance. And relevance to me is broad: life, career, business, community, et cetera, et cetera. There's got to be some relevance. But when I connect, Greg, I immediately engage.
Yeah.
And that is what starts that relationship and can determine where it will go. Because if that person wants to have some level of a business, professional, or beyond relationship with me, when I engage with them, they'll engage back.
Yeah, it kind of opens the door for that two-way conversation. And I think another thing you taught us, and maybe this was you, maybe not, you can correct me either way, but was to follow someone before you tried to connect so that you could really understand their level of involvement or commitment or interaction to the platform, rather than just a blind connect out of the blue. I think you taught us that, if I remember right.
It may not have been specifically me, because I don't. I have a similar philosophy. So I will research someone. I'll research them, their company, their role. I will also look for. I remember you and I talking about this at one point. I will also look for their content online. And one of my little tactics is to bump into people. So
gotcha, by doing your homework.
Yeah, well, even better than that, if I see that Tyler drops some content on LinkedIn, I'll quickly review it, which means I seriously review it. I may not read it word for word, but I will quickly review it and come up with a way to engage with Tyler.
Gotcha.
And that's called bumping into people. And so I do this all the time, and I do it purposefully, and I do it with sincere intent, not just to build a huge network. But that's a really powerful way to let someone know who you are. You discover more about them, and then maybe where relevant, appropriate, my next tactic will be to send Tyler an invite to connect.
In my brain, it's the same tactic of getting to know who you're trying to get to know before you just ask them out on a date. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Makes sense. So Tyler, you work for a social media company or a social media platform enhancement capability tool for the technically challenged. How about that?
Yes.
So listening to Teddy, and I know you're an astute young man. You probably did homework on Teddy before we got on this call. When you're hearing him explain LinkedIn properly and how he administers his business on that platform, how does that sound to you as a millennial or younger? How does that grab you versus if we were talking about Instagram?
Yeah. So what's really interesting about how Teddy is referring to LinkedIn, to me anyways, is he's taking something that that can feel inherently impersonal, right? Where you just scroll through LinkedIn, you throw a like, someone's, oh, I like this, I like that, whatever, and just keep going. And really taking something that feels like it removes humanity from it to a certain extent, and really putting the human touch points back into LinkedIn in a way that actually builds and fosters relationships, as opposed to the way that I think most of us use LinkedIn, which is occasionally just mindlessly scrolling stuff, see something you like, you hit like on it or whatever.
Now you can hit the applause button. Don't forget.
Oh, that's see, you know more about social media than I do.
I learned that from Teddy.
I need more Teddy. But
watch what you say there, Tyler. That freaks people out when I hear that.
Freaks me out.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, what you just said, you use words that are very important to me. You use words like mindlessly scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
That is not how people use business tools.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. And let me tell you, I get it. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I love my people there. I love my people on LinkedIn as well, but I'll sit down, and last night I was watching what's the Clint Eastwood movie? Yeah,
it's named after a car.
Oh crap! It's another one. It's another one. It's Dirty Harry.
Oh yeah.
So I was watching Dirty Harry last night, and I had my iPhone in my hand, and I admit that I was mindlessly scrolling through Twitter and Instagram. But when I'm using social media as a business tool, I do not mindlessly scroll.
Right.
I purposely scroll.
So it's intentional.
It is absolutely intentional. And then there's another aspect of that too, and that is, just because I see a piece of content that a good friend of mine posted or somebody posted, doesn't mean I'm going to hit the like button. And now on LinkedIn, like is way more than like. You got variations to the like button, which I appreciate. I think it's a really cool philosophy that LinkedIn added. That the like is applause, love, insightful, and curious. That's way better than Facebook. Facebook has that, what's it called? The hate button, where you say you absolutely don't like it.
Yeah.
They have a sad and they have a angry. And LinkedIn said, no, we're not going to put those out there. If you can't engage with it positively, don't touch it.
Yeah. You remember when we met, Teddy, and did our training, those were just rolling out because some people in the class had access to them and some didn't yet. Yeah. I guess it depends on how they push them to you, but because some people are like, what do you mean an applause button?
Yeah. And some said, I don't want emoticons. I remember these conversations. I do not want emoticons on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I celebrate them. I think they are impactful when you use them appropriately.
Well, I think that's kind of like the political conversation. I don't go to LinkedIn to learn or to like or dislike Nancy Pelosi. It's not the right platform for me to have those kind of conversations. And I don't think I'm in the minority with that opinion because I read the comments, but it still bleeds over. But like you said a while ago, Teddy, if you don't want to participate in a positive way, just leave it alone. You don't have to do anything. It's like if you don't like what's on TV, turn it off.
Yeah. And that's one of my edicts that I live by, Greg, and that is that I never engage on anything political or religious on any social media platform, period.
I follow your lead on that, sir.
Yeah, there's no benefit. I mean, the moment you open your mouth one way or another,
you just lost half your audience.
In a heartbeat. And how does that help you? How does it help your professional or your personal brand in any way?
I don't see how it could.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the three of us can get together one day and we go out and have a hamburger and a glass of cheer wine, and we can talk politics and religion face to face. I'm all about that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not coming, so y'all enjoy that.
What, you don't like cheer wine?
No, I like barbecue better if I'm going to Winston. So you brought up a point a while ago about salespeople and their sales leadership saying, I don't want my people on social media, yada, 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 wasting time, screwing around, whatever. So I think I ask myself this and I ask other people this. So I'll ask you as the guru, how do you determine, what the proper or the right amount of time is to spend on social, period, and then on LinkedIn, period, definitively? And is there a right answer, or is the right answer, as I suspect, it depends on what you're doing at that moment with it?
Yeah, it's a huge question I get asked all the time, and my answer is fluid, but my answer is also this: how much time do you spend on your phone? How much time do you spend on email? How much time do you spend researching? Um,
All of it.
all of it. And so, and if you look at how we're using the telephone, how we're using email, how we're using text, how we're using, other tools, our CRM tools, and et cetera, we, for the most part, are integrating the use of those tools into other business processes.
Yeah.
And
True
so
that.
that's my answer of LinkedIn. Don't set aside time per se for LinkedIn. Integrate it into your other processes. Example, yesterday I wanted to call 25 management consulting companies. So I set up a LinkedIn search. I found 25 companies. I then searched and found, the people within those companies. I use LinkedIn Sales Navigator for a lot of this. And so I built a list of about 30 people in LinkedIn. So what I did was I created a process where here's the person, here's the company, find the phone number, find the email address. And I called each of these people. One of my little tactics is I'll call you and say, Greg, I want to talk with you. I want to find out what's going on, whatever my words are. And then I end it with, oh, by the way, I'm going to send you a link, an email in the event that's a better place for us to engage for you.
Gotcha. So you're making the choice theirs of how to engage.
I'm giving them the opportunity to engage with me via phone or via email because, not everybody wants to do it the way Teddy wants to do it, which I think is horrible, but that's okay. But my point was,
It's the shiny shoes, Tyler. It's the shiny shoes.
Yes.
I just didn't send out LinkedIn messages to 25 people and say, dude, I want to sell you this widget.
Right.
I researched them. I called them and left a message for a conversation, followed up where I could with an email, as an option for conversation. And if I didn't have email, I'd send them a LinkedIn message. And again, my message was for a conversation. I wasn't just doing LinkedIn. I was using LinkedIn as a part of my prospecting processes.
Yeah. You're still doing it as a relationship building tool. So, as you said, it's a part of the pie. It's not the pie. So that makes total sense to me.
I bluntly state this. If you're going to treat LinkedIn like a sideline tool that I've got to jump on for half an hour a day, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It will fail you miserably.
Yeah, I like the hybrid approach like you talk about because, there's some days you won't do it and some days you use it a lot, again, depending on your need. But
Yeah.
so as we're kind of cruising on the uphill side of our hour, I'm curious, if there's, and I'm sure you could talk for a lot because there's probably many options and many answers to this question. But if there's one thing that, or what do most people need to know that they don't know about LinkedIn that could get them more value, meaning either starting to relate to other people or relate deeper to other people? What do you feel like that message of that nugget could be to folks who are kind of, as Tyler said, and they're scrolling through and they're looking and they're making the occasional like, but they're not really engaged in the platform? What's that nugget that people would go, wow, okay, I get that?
I position this philosophy around two things. And first and foremost is a Teddyism. And Greg, I'm about ready to drop another Teddyism on you. And
I got the record button going. Don't worry, buddy.
Yeah, and Tyler, you can use it as well. And by the way, any Teddyism you hear, any quote that you hear from me, Tyler, it's important that the first 3 times you repeat it, you have to say, I heard this from Mr. Teddy Burris.
That sounds fair. I agree to this deal.
The 4th time you say it, you can say, as I've always said.
But Teddy, on the 4th time, he still mails you the $5 bill in snail mail, right?
I've got that all set up with Square. It happens automatically.
All right, cool.
Here's the first Teddyism. It's a journey, not a race. You got to think of it that way. If in networking, relationship development, branding, personal branding, It's a journey, not a race. If you try to bust through it and make it happen before it's time, it won't work. It just won't. So, you've got to consider that. And then the second thing is this. This is not a Teddyism, it's a Dale Carnegie statement. But you got to make the conversation all about the other person. And if you are using LinkedIn and making connections and sharing ideas and giving out nuggets and helping people, and along the way, if you're making the conversation about the other person, then you can get permission to talk about yourself. Mm. And once you know or feel that you've gotten permission, I'm an advocate, because this is a journey, not a race. And I'm going to say, Greg, would you be willing to have a conversation about your business and my business to see if there's something we can do to help each other? I call it ask permission.
And I can tell you in real life, that's how it happened.
So, well, and that for me is much richer, way more richer than me, cold calling and knocking on doors and handing out brochures and hoping and praying that somebody's going to read that 7-page full color brochure
with that one misspelled word in it that drives you crazy.
Yeah. It's far richer. So, to answer your question, the nugget is consider it's a journey and a race. Make the conversation all about the other person until you get permission to talk about yourself.
Love that. Well said. Well, Tyler, you've been relatively quiet today. I'm assuming it's because you took a Valium due to your commute. So, you've listened a lot. You really have, mm-hmm. And I could tell, by now that I've kind of gotten to know you a bit through doing this work, I can tell you there's a little bit of intrigue there that mm-hmm. your wheels are spinning a bit, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Do you have one good thing you would like to ask Dr. Burrus on LinkedIn?
Ooh, that is a really good question. So my biggest question was going to be what you just asked, and so I guess I will try to build on what you said earlier about intentionality and really showing intentionality with your actions on LinkedIn and not being passive and really sitting down. And I really appreciated, Teddy, what you said about if you look at it as just, a 30-minute thing that you got to do every day or whatever, you're not going to be successful. I think that's a smart way to look at it. And so I suppose I wonder, like, if someone is starting from scratch, what's the first step in how they should approach LinkedIn if they haven't used it at all, or if they've only kind of just been using it to connect with, a few people here and there? What's the first step to really becoming an effective user of LinkedIn?
So, Tyler, that's an important question. I have to answer that often for college students because I help them as well, mm-hmm. to as they start their journey. As I believe you are earlier in your journey than Greg and I are in ours.
Ouch.
But here's the answer. First of all, you got to know your purpose. What am I trying to do? Why am I doing this?
Right.
And, maybe you don't know the answer. So at the very least, the answer may have something to do with, I just want to learn. Mm-hmm. I just want to learn. So, and by the way, my intentionality, my actions, my processes, tactics may be way different than a college grad's. Maybe not, but because I'm a business developer responsible for growing my business. And by the way, my wife does hear those words and tries to hold me to it. So I'm using it for a different purpose and I'm using it differently. So if you're just getting started using LinkedIn, then I would ask to think this way. Why am I doing it? What's the potential benefit? And if I believe that benefit may be worth some actions, what are my routine actions going to be? Now, I will offer this one point. Beyond building a glorious LinkedIn profile, and beyond working to build a huge brand through your content engagement, there's one thing that everybody, I believe, all those who want to get value out of LinkedIn need to be doing, and that is this. And I just did this to you. Make a new connection every day of your life.
Oh, that's really good advice. That is really good advice.
Yeah. So accept my invite I just sent you, dude.
Now that he's not cold calling you.
That's a really good point. Well, I don't have LinkedIn up when I'm doing interviews. I want to be focused, but I just accepted it. So there you go.
Look what I said to you. Look what I told you and Greg. I integrated into what I'm doing. I'm sitting here talking with you guys, and I heard I knew it was Tyler Kern. I don't know what A stands for, and so while we're chatting, I looked you up on LinkedIn, and I see that you and I share 8 connections. Do you know Elaine Jacks?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's all right. But it's just how I do things. I integrate into what I'm doing. Now, by the way, I never have LinkedIn open when I'm having dinner with my wife.
That's smart. That's how you stay married. So I've heard.
That's real smart.
Yeah. I've been wearing this ring she gave me for 42 years, and that's part of the reason I'm able to do that is because I'm getting smarter.
There you go. Compound knowledge.
That's right.
Well, Teddy, you've been again a deeply valued friend here in discussing and helping us and Tyler and I and the world. However many hundreds and millions of clicks we get on this to listen, but. Thank you for taking time with it. Tyler, you want to wrap us up and head us out in the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Teddy, that really was a fascinating conversation. I feel like I learned a lot, and I hope a lot of other people learned a lot. And hopefully we didn't give too much away of your secret sauce, so everyone still hires you and and takes your advice. So, but yeah, Teddy, thank you again so much for doing this today.
Well, Greg, Tyler, both, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. I love these friendly conversations. They're much more rewarding to me than trying to teach someone to click, click, click. So thank you both.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well done on your behalf, Teddy, and thank you. And Tyler, as always, you're a gem behind the control panel. So thank you for your work.
Well, that's awfully kind of you, Greg. But I really enjoy these conversations, and so thank you for letting me be a part of them. And we'll have more coming up soon.
Look forward to it, buddy.
Looking forward to it. Everybody, stay tuned for further episodes of Straight Outta Crumpton. But for this one, we're done for today. So everyone, I've been your host today, Tyler Kern, and for Greg Crumpton, we'll see you next time.